Hey leaders, thanks for taking time to click on the video. Today I want to look at some of the research we've done around positive views of the church in secular culture. So Dr. Scott mentioned at the Innovation Hub that we spent some time looking at popular TV shows, HBO series, and how faith is presented. And not surprisingly, most of the time Christianity is looked on as a joke or as an escapism that's honestly not as good as drugs or sex. But there was one overlapping instance in multiple shows that a piece of faith and spirituality got highlighted as a positive, and that's in 12-step programs. And so for those of you who aren't familiar, Bill and Bob, who started Alcoholics Anonymous, originally approached this as a sort of a Christian document, a way to come before God and throw yourself and your need for transformation at His mercy. And sure, it's been more sort of secularized or has become a tradition unto itself in many ways. However, it's interesting that the main form of spiritual transformation that these shows find sort of wisdom or transformation for characters in, even if it's temporary, is within these 12-step communities. And so that was such a fascinating area that the church has met with complete skepticism except for this one place. And so I kind of did some research to figure out if there's any writers out there noting the difference between community offered in traditional church setting and honestly community offered in secular settings and those offered in 12-step programs. And so Richard Rohr, in his book Breathing Underwater, is a reflection of the spirituality of the 12 steps. And he has this to say: "I'm indeed saying that only people who have suffered in some way can save one another. Exactly as the 12-step program discovered, deep communion and deep compassion is formed much more by shared pain than by shared pleasure." And so it's interesting that even in these secular spaces, this shared pain in the midst of a higher power of some sort is the main source of wisdom and transformation for these characters in these shows. So I share that mainly with you. I know it's a little piece of the puzzle, but as you think about planning events or sermon series or teachings, what role does sharing in pain or suffering have for you? I think of the young adult events I've gone to or heard about. One of the intergenerational panels that Platt Park had on grief, loss, and suffering, and how it also coincided with a sermon on lament a few Sundays either before or after. And so just the role of making space for pain, but also not just for the sake of healing, but for the sake of sharing in that deep communion of hope we have in the midst of pain, or what particular Christian pain looks like and how it's difficult and messy. So yeah, I think that reality that stronger community comes from shared pain rather than shared pleasure is a good piece to remember, especially when we live in a city that has so much pleasure to offer people. So yeah, thanks for your time. I just thought I'd throw that thought out there as you plan your weeks and sermon series. Yeah, have a good week.